I don't know why you're so dense on this. Ukraine is fucking mogging them, but Russia still mogs the NATO army. I genuinely, I think you people are insane. I really, truly do. Whatever media you guys are consuming that has led you to believe that Russia, despite stalling in Ukraine and holding a line for years, poses a threat to NATO. Whatever you're watching that's convincing you of this, I think it's hurting you. The Russia is not building up an elite core of conscripted soldiers who are slowly gaining like super soldier experience that would let them easily overwhelm NATO countries. They can't even get through Ukraine. It's just not happening. German citizens between 17 and 45 now need permission from the army to leave Germany for more than 3 months. What? That's fucking ominous. German males aged between 17 and 45 may need to seek approval for lengthy stays abroad under changes introduced as part of a new law which introduced voluntary military service. Why would you need permission to leave the country as part of a package to introduce voluntary military service? How is surely the voluntary element is not, that's ominous. I imagine this is due to Russia, but this is a bit weird. Russia is not doing anything that would require Germany to do this. This is just fascism. I'll call it. It is fascistic. There is absolutely no reason to restrict the free travel of civilians for this reason. Also sexist? Also sexist. That is true. It's not voluntary anymore. We introduced involuntary service recently. Yes, the German government implementing austerity in literally every sector except for their defense industry. Germany needs to rearm unironically. Here's my controversial opinion. They really don't. I do think that NATO over-reliance on America is a problem, but at the same time, like, Russia doesn't threaten Germany. They just don't. It's like, it's hilarious that they're managing to fearmonger over this. Like, Russia is a real threat. I'm not pretending, like, I'm not saying they're not bad or whatever, but they can't even make it into Ukraine. They've stalled for years. Well, like, what possible change in circumstances could bring Russia from exhausting all of its best people, munitions, and equipment on the easternmost quarter of Ukraine over to overtaking Ukraine and Poland and then threatening Germany? Like, what could possibly, do they think like the Russians are on the brink of discovering some kind of new technology or something? Like they're about to break through the Baltics? If Russia wanted to do that, they would have already. Yeah, I'm about to think the fucking Metal Gear. Politicians think that? No, politicians just want an excuse to fearmonger and give more money to weapons manufacturers. Germany will have to aid allies in Eastern Europe when attacked. It's not, you don't need conscription in Germany. You just don't. The military is literally aging out. More than half their equipment's not serviceable. That's fine, man. Gonna make young Germans die for Israel? Yeah. Chancellor Friedrich Merz has pledged to rebuild the Bundeswehr into Europe's strongest conventional army in response to what his government describes as a more dangerous security environment in Europe. Yeah. Again, has nothing to do with Israel? Incorrect. Everything on earth has to do with Israel. The form will be mandatory for men and voluntary for women. Wow. I don't know. I'm pretty scared having Russia as a neighbor. Or if you're German, you don't have Russia as a neighbor. There's Poland and then there's Ukraine. France said it was introducing 10 months of voluntary military training for 18 and 19-year-olds. Yeesh. From July 2027, all 18-year-old men will have to take a medical exam to assess their fitness for possible military service. Do you know how many civic problems we would have fixed if we did this, except for like a civil service corps? Like, for a fraction of the money, we could have done this with New Deal style, like, train a bunch of 18-year-olds to fill potholes, and we would have, like, every Western country would have been a gleaming utopia. It's not even a joke. The amount of money, the government training a, like, elite corps of young construction, maintenance, and just general service workers would fix so many problems. So fucking grim. We have the Job Corps. Actually, unless I'm remembering my headlines incorrectly, we no longer have the Job Corps. Trump officially defunded the Job Corps, the America's largest vocational training program. As a former Job Corps graduate, it's complete ass and does literally nothing for you anyway. Yeah, I've heard that as well. The idea is still good, though, you know? Better than sending everyone to the military. Diverting all your taxpayer dollars to fucking German arms contractors. The fear-mongering in German media is on a different level. Everyone's screaming everywhere about Russia potentially nuking us. I just hope people understand that all the fear-mongering about Russia and Germany is exactly the same as what America did with Iraq and Iran. You're no different from us. The fear-mongering, like, hyped up, oh my God, they pose a great threat to us bullshit, when they objectively do not, is just another excuse to divert weapons to arm manufacturers. That's it. Same goddamn thing. Just keep in mind that Russia poses the exact same threat to Germany as they do to America, as they do to Australia, as they do to Botswana, which is to say the only threat Russia poses is in nuclear annihilation, which would hit everyone. Do we know why Germany's doing this now? Global fascist tide rising. Xenophobia, isolationism, warmongering, it's all coming back. Don't forget the fact that Russia funds our far-right movements and some of our far-left retards. Sure, but they did that in America too, you know? And it's not like pumping up the military is going to stop that. Like, how does diverting a bunch of money to the Bundeswehr stop Russia from interfering in Western elections, you know? So Russia sending drones into NATO airspace isn't a threat, okay then? That is correct, yes. Russia sending drones to, like, flirt in Baltic airspace does not mean that Russia poses a conventional military threat to Germany. It does not mean that Germany needs to increase the funding of the Bundeswehr. Yes, that is correct. No, a drone flying in NATO airspace does not mean Russia is capable of suddenly overwhelming both Ukraine and Poland and making their way to Germany's border. That is true, yeah. Russia will never make it all the way to the western edge of Ukraine. They have proven they are not capable of it. If they were going to do it, they would have done it in the first 3 months of the war, and they didn't. And they've lost all their best equipment, and the only men they have left are pathetic, toothless old men and, like, virgin 18-year-olds who are looking to have their death paycheck sent to their family because they're useless otherwise. Like, the idea that Russia is going to suddenly overwhelm Ukraine and make it all the way there and through fucking it's ridiculous. It's insane. Absolutely insane. Do not get baited by this fear-mongering. We're a cuck nation. We're all cuck nations in the end. Geopolitics is just a musical chair procession of cuck chairs and cuck beds. Everyone just taking turns watching everyone else fuck everyone else's wife. How Russia's threat has seen Germany become Europe's most important army. Yeah. This is insane. Look at this. General Karsten Brewer is a man in a hurry, head of Germany's armed forces. Quote, so what we are facing is a threat from Russia. We can clearly see Russia is building up its military to a strength which is nearly the double size of which they had before the war against Ukraine. In 2029, it will be possible for Russia to conduct a major war against NATO. This is insane. Like, this person should be court-martialed. It's hysterical. You need to go to a fucking loony bin. Russia's military is now twice as strong as it was before the invasion of Ukraine. Are you crazy? But they're lying. And these generals are in bed with military contractors, and they work together, and the generals work with politicians to hype up and fearmonger so that more money gets diverted over to the arms contractors. Then when the generals retire, they go work, they're on the board of whatever the German equivalent of Lockheed Martin is. Saying Russia is not a threat is insane too. Can you listen to the words that I'm saying? Russia is a threat to Ukraine. And to the Baltics, Poland, and likely Finland? No. Stop. The only threat that Russia poses to any country, meaningful threat, outside of Ukraine is in the form of nuclear warfare, which, again, would be a threat to every country on Earth. Funny how Polish generals don't fearmonger this much, and we're a little less hysterical. You have to prepare years in advance for more powerful Russia? Dog, there's no more powerful Russia. They've been declining since the Cold War. They've used up their Soviet stockpile. What do you mean a more power? With what economy? With what people? They're out of people. They're desperately trying to avoid a mass conscription that they know would be unpopular even in their shithole backwater country. What more powerful Russia? What industrial superpower? What are you talking about? You guys are literally doing the Iraq WMD bullshit, as far as I'm concerned. I was in the German military. One of the top officers for armament projects in my branch was a brother of the chair of one of the companies which does the armament. Yeah, that sounds about right. German Lockheed Rheinmetall stock grew by 15 times since Russian attack in Ukraine. Yeah, that's the reason why they're doing this, by the way. Look at that. All this fear-mongering is just another attempt to boost the stock price. If you don't see that, then you're a rube. And you would fall for all this bullshit from Trump, too. If you don't see what the point of this insane fear-mongering is, like, oh, Russia, they could overwhelm Germany any day now, then you would fall for it in America, too. And this is why I hate it when people act like Europe is fundamentally better or different. You're just a weaker version of us. The same cuckoldry to capital, the same weak politicians, the same like corporatists writing your bills, your laws. It's the same bullshit. You're just weaker than us. You're like a worse version of us. Like, at least we're the center of the world. You guys are pantomiming our politics, but you don't even get to be the center of the world. How confident are you in your assessment on the current day state of the German army? In that it doesn't need to be massively empowered in order to resist conventional warfare from Russia? Extremely. You don't think Germany should be able to at least conduct a war for more than a month because that's what they found through training? They can't fight longer than a month. And where did you hear that assessment from? Can't fight longer than a month. Where did you hear that assessment from? Literally just talking out of your ass? Where am I wrong? Explain where I'm wrong. NATO Warhawks, yeah. Wasn't Ukraine supposed to be a 3-day blitzkrieg? I can't believe we're fearmongering over a country that's been entrenched in the Donbass for like fucking 3 years now. It's crazy. Yeah, man, any day now they'll break free and suddenly march 800 miles west. Watch the Perun video, Vaush, you're just wrong. It's always you're wrong, watch this other thing. It's never here's my counter argument in chat. Every time, man, every time. I'm not listening to any. This is an 80-minute video. Absolutely the fuck not. Are you kidding me? Jesus Christ. I'm not taking pointers on whether or not the Bundeswehr needs to fucking double its budget from NATO Warhawks, okay? These are the same people that were cheering as Israel started bombing Lebanon in 2023. Bro would have said the same. The video was 2 minutes. You do got me on that one. You're wrong. Watch this come down bit. That I might do. The reason post videos instead of arguments, they don't actually learn enough from the video to articulate a point, so they use it to make an argument for them that doesn't exist most likely. The number one tell that I've noticed is that when people disagree but they're wrong and can't substantiate it, they get angry. When a person thinks that a streamer is wrong but they know why, they don't get angry. What they get angry at is their impotence in defending a position they have but can't justify. So if a person starts getting really indignant and they're like, "Oh, you fucking idiot, you have no idea what you're talking about," but they don't provide an argument, that usually means they are having their challenge their priors challenged, but they don't know how to defend it. Whereas if a person knows, if you know how I'm wrong and you can succinctly describe it, you can like one-shot me, basically. It doesn't take much. But I know it when I see it, okay? Could also be they're bad at articulating. Well, that's their fault, not mine. Does that mean when you get mad at chat using that same law? Yes, that's true. Why would anyone hold a position if they don't have anything to back it up? That's like 90% of positions people hold. How is calling them weak an argument in the first place? Wait, what are we arguing about right now? What are people mad at me about? I think it's bad that Germany and France are like flirting with the idea of mass enlistment and pumping a bunch of money into arms contractors based on fearmongering over a country that objectively does not pose a conventional threat to them. And I stand by the idea that they objectively don't pose a conventional threat to them for the same reason I would feel that way about Iran or Iraq. Russia is as likely to engage in a conventional ground war with Germany as Iran was with the United States. You keep ignoring stuff like Greenland? That's different. I'm talking about Russia fearmongering. If the argument for boosting Germany's defense spending was that, like, the American century is over and they're fending for themselves now, that's a different one. But the argument being made by a lot of these warhawks is very explicitly that Russia is, like, on the precipice of annihilating Germany. This general, right here, this is a quote from the general in this article. So what we're seeing, what we are facing, is a threat from Russia. We can clearly see Russia is building up its military to a strength which is nearly double the size of what they had been before the war against Ukraine. In 2029, it'll be possible for Russia to conduct a major war against NATO. Genuinely psychotic. That's what I'm referring to. So if you're mad at me for disagreeing with you know, I guess your propositions regarding the legitimacy of German rearmament, this is the argument that I'm arguing against. Insane. Germany's projected to spend $162 billion on its military in 2029, up from $95 billion in 2025. Me leftistly defending a Western European country doubling its arms spending. What's your assessment on the likelihood of Russia moving against the Baltic states? I guess they could. I don't know why they would. Like, unless they were trying to commit murder-suicide? Like, Russia can't even move in Ukraine. Why would... I mean, the Baltic states would falter, but, like, why? There are entrenched NATO positions there. It wouldn't be like a one-to-one. Like, if they were going to do that, there would be a very obvious buildup, you know? And that would be like a broader NATO. And I hope everyone understands this, but like, leaving nukes on the table. Like, we're not addressing them. NATO would annihilate Russia. We all understand this, right? Like, Russia is fighting with fumes. They're fighting with, like, World War I style military doctrine of trench warfare and artillery, and then they're putting the drones out as they can. Like, the idea that they could fight against NATO is insane. There are close to 1,200 German troops stationed in Lithuania. That'll rise to nearly 5,000 by the end of the year. That seems fine to me, I guess. 5,000 German troops in Lithuania. I really don't think Russia could break through that. I know it sounds like oh, just 5,000, but like Russia is the only reason Russia hasn't gotten pushed back from their current lines in eastern Ukraine is because the no man's land between their front and the Ukrainian front is a hellhole of trenches and landmines. You know, the ability for Russia to open a new front, I think, is severely weakened compared to the beginning of the war. In order to quickly open a front, you need like you need like a tip of the spear. You need a bunch of armored vehicles. You need air control. You need like something. You need like a big force to push through. But Russia doesn't have that anymore. So slow, grinding, attritional death is the only thing they can really do anymore. You know. I do take a look at some of the vids that get posted to counter your argument sometimes, and they generally don't even hard disagree with you. They just come to a slightly different conclusion. Yeah, it's what I've noticed as well. It's not that I disagree with the videos necessarily. I just think that people get angry and impotent, and they just post them without thinking, which is really annoying, both, I think, to me and also to, like, the people whose videos are being posted, because I can tell you guys that if one of you was wrong and you were defending your wrong point by posting a video where I'm arguing something similar but not quite the same, I'd be pretty annoyed with you. That would kind of piss me off a little bit. Like, listen to what I'm saying, you know? Russia has had more than half a decade to sharpen its teeth and gain real combat experience. Oh my God. The Russian army of today is not the Russian army that failed to take Kyiv. Are you seriously suggesting the Russian army today is more competent than it was before the Ukraine war? Come on, dude. Are you fucking kidding? They're dead. They're all dead. They're not having their teeth sharpened. They're having their teeth blown apart. They're still not taking Kyiv. They're further from taking it than they were 3 days after the war began. Just stop with the fearmongering, man. You're nominally leftist, but you're literally like engaging in fearmongering over a foreign enemy to excuse your far-right politicians pumping up military conscription and military spending. Like, what the fuck? Aren't you on the left? Imperial German sock dems be like, yeah. The Russian military has been weakened in strength, but is gaining experience. I don't think that the conflict works the way that you think it does. I don't think that's true. This is literally how wars work. The soldiers in them typically develop improved skills. Yeah, but that's not the problem that Russia's having right now. A lot of the people they're sending out to die are like fucking 18-year-olds from ethnic minority communities who are just getting like, what experience are they getting? How to hide in a trench? How to, like, say your prayers quickly as you see the FPV drone hovering towards you? How to not look undignified so that the Ukrainians who are laughing at the fucking video footage of you as the drone approaches don't, like, piss themselves laughing? Like, I understand, like, war has changed a lot in the past century, and I'm not, like, a military expert. There's no argument for the idea that Russia is getting stronger over time. That is just so baseless. You have to listen, okay? Objectively, the thing that you should fear is austerity politics, neoliberalism, and the rising tide of fascism. If in your top 5 fears as a German or a Western European is fucking Russia, your priorities are insanely skewed, and you, to me, are exactly like an American who is afraid of Iraq in like 2002 or something. You're falling for all the propaganda. You think, oh, greatest threat to our freedom. They hate our freedom. Like, you are, to me, that guy. It's not even remotely close to the top fears you should have on your mind, okay? Would you support the German military building up funding if their argument was to wage a people's crusade for the Holy Catholic Church against Jerusalem? If the Bundeswehr was rearming with the intent of a holy crusade down to retake Jerusalem for Christendom, then that would be a different thing. Yeah, that would be a different thing. That'd be different. Germany is Protestant. They have Catholics. The concern isn't Russia gaining strength now. What they gain is getting blown away by Ukrainians, as you say. The concern is what happens after the war with Ukraine ends. Well, so, okay, you want an answer to this? The only chance that Russia has of even remotely rearming there are 2 things you can do to limit that possibility, okay? For one, invest in green energy. Seriously, the fact that you guys were so reliant on Russian fossil fuels for so long is pathetic, especially Germany. Why'd you close down all those nuclear plants? Probably Russian interference. And two, stop pushing other countries into positions where they can only trade with Russia, all right? Stop sanctioning Iran. Treat Iran like a normal country. Treat China like a normal country, all right? Treat Russia like a normal country. After the war is over, get over yourselves and do your best to engage with the world in a fairer field so you no longer create this like asymmetric axis of evil where Russia is able to get a bunch of money by trading with Iran or whatever. Aid Ukraine in rebuilding. And, I don't know, invest in solar. Russia would have no ability. Honestly, if you undercut Russia's profits in their petro sales, if you were able to like really build up your, energy infrastructure so you no longer have to rely on Russian oil or natural gas, Russia would have no way of replenishing its military. It would probably balkanize. Like, the only reason Russia hasn't lost Siberia is because of the petrol interdependence, the fact that there's so many resources out there east, and the fact that Russia's been able to promise a kind of consolidation with the wealth that it's generated from those sales. Genuinely, within 10 or 20 years, you might have like a totally different map, like a global map, you know? But you'll need to like lock the fuck in, I guess. None of this has anything to do with rearming Germany, though. Like, we don't need to spend all of human history building up a like post-Cold War Iron Curtain up against the edge of Ukraine, the forever war with Russia. That's just not, the world doesn't have to be like that, you know? Please stop speaking like you know anything. Russians have specialized units like Rubicon that would destroy NATO forces due to our outdated tactics. Sure, okay. Well, I don't know why they haven't taken Kyiv yet. Then, I don't know. Russia has a super secret fucking hidden domain technique that they can utilize at any time, but they can't even beat Ukraine, the like 50th strongest army. Like, okay. Yeah, they secretly have Space Marines. They have a Metal Gear. Okay. Come on. Russia is benefiting from the Iran war. Yeah, then maybe Europe should stop fucking doing whatever America tells it to. You know? Maybe Europe should start treating Iran like a normal country, which it is. Iran isn't like a despotic terror state or what. It's got 100 million people. It's a major country. Treat it like a normal ass country. You trade with other dictatorships. You trade with Saudi Arabia. You trade with Israel, the world's most evil state. I don't know why you're so dense on this. Ukraine is fucking mogging them, but Russia still mogs a NATO army. I genuinely, I think you people are insane. I really, truly do. Whatever media you guys are consuming that has led you to believe that Russia, despite stalling in Ukraine and holding a line for years, poses a threat to NATO. Whatever you're watching that's convincing you of this, I think it's hurting you. I genuinely think you have built up a NAFO YouTube subscription list. Maybe you watch me too because I'm pro-Ukraine, so you think like, oh, but I think the other guys you're watching are hurting you. I think they're hurting your brain. You sound unhinged to me. All right. You get in chat if you want to add to the conversation. I didn't say they weren't a threat at any point. I said it wasn't. I'm talking about their military experience, clearly leagues above NATO, and to dismiss that as silly. I'm really sorry, but like, no. The Russia is not building up an elite core of conscripted soldiers who are slowly gaining like super soldier experience that would let them easily overwhelm NATO countries. They can't even get through Ukraine. It's just not happening. I'm sorry, I don't know. We could keep doing this forever. I don't know. Yeah, stop focusing on military experience. Start focusing on military performance, because that's where it counts. And so far, I'm not seeing much. What are we gabbing about? A significant number of my chatters seem to believe that NATO is on the cusp of being overwhelmed by Russia. Tell them they dumb. I'm trying. It's not working. Significant is overstating it. Come on, Lamau. Dude, there are people in chat unironically arguing that Russia could beat NATO when they haven't moved in Ukraine in 3 years. I don't know what. It's ridiculous. I don't know. Like, you guys sound like the weird campists who act like Russia is on the cusp of overwhelming Europe because they've been building up their fucking hidden Sharingan technique. that's going to overwhelm Ukraine any day now. Like, just work off existing military performance. If Ukraine was going to be overwhelmed by Russia, it would have happened by now. If Russia could overwhelm NATO, they could have overwhelmed Ukraine. They didn't. Okay, but a refurbishment of the military in the face of the fracturing of the transatlantic relationship's not unreasonable? No. Maybe, but it's a far-right chancellor who's using illegitimate and irrational fearmongering to justify a near doubling of your military budget while also pushing for conscription of your young men. Do you not see how this goes? These people think we live in the Dune universe? Yeah. I think you picked up a lot of European chauvinists after the war started. They sort of accepted your otherwise left-wing positions. That's how I felt when I criticized Trudeau back when he was doing the bank freezes after the big trucker strike in Canada, where a bunch of people who previously had agreed with a lot of leftist positions were suddenly like completely unwilling to be even remotely critical of Canadian leadership, even though Trudeau is at most like center left. And it's realized all of a sudden like their only politics was we're better than America. Which I think a lot of Europeans are like that too. Like, even as your continent falls into austerity politics and xenophobia, right-wing bickering over immigration, you grow increasingly incapable of great works projects or even maintaining your basic existing infrastructure. And then you're still arguing you're better than us. Dude, you're on the exact same road as us. The exact same road. We're all controlled by the same capital masters. It's not, you're partitioning of responsibility here only worsens the problem because you give people the impression there's something innate and fundamental about America that's causing this, as opposed to it being a product of, capitalism, which you are too. I had that feeling after your orc arc, it irked me. Yeah, or when I remember when I said when there were Russians who were trying to flee into the Baltic states as refugees when the war began, and there were some like freak NAFO liberals being like, they should stay in Russia and fix what they caused. And I said those people were psychopaths, and some people in chat were like, well, we don't want Russians in our country. And I was like, wait, you guys are just chauvinists. Like, you people are psychopaths. You only like me because I like Ukraine, but I like Ukraine because I like democracy and dislike tyranny. You like Ukraine because you think Russians are like fundamentally evil or something. You're hateful. You could be the Russians. You're no different from them. How would Europe fare without the US for supplies and arms? I don't know what to tell you guys, man. Like, we're balking over the 1.5 trillion Pentagon budget that Trump is proposing, but the difference between the current budget for the Pentagon and the budget Trump is proposing is less than the difference between the current Bundeswehr budget and the budget that Merz is proposing in 2029. Like, you are defending a greater than Trump proposal level increase in military spending off of insane bullshit, warmongering, fearful, like, Russia's going to overwhelm us any day talking points. What if Russia does blitzkrieg? Well, why didn't they do it, like, to Kyiv? Are you judging people for categorically framing Russians as evil while you sometimes categorically frame Israelis as evil? You can complain about what you perceive as hypocrisy, but my actual positions on essentialism are extremely well documented. And if you actually ask me, hey, do you think that Israelis are fundamentally evil? The easy and obvious answer is no, though the country has a cultural disposition towards evil. There's nothing innate or fundamental about anyone, anywhere, at any point in time. The problem is, those beliefs were not shared by many of the people calling Russians orcs, who actually were unironically arguing that Russians are fundamentally evil. So I guess you could say that there's a semantic similarity which betrays different positions on a similar issue, but I'm happy to provide clarification when necessary. My problem was not that people were being blasé in their condemnation of Russian culture. My problem was that a lot of these people were actually like bigoted, like real bigoted against Russians. Like, if Israelis wanted to flee conscription for the IDF in a Western European country, I would never say they shouldn't do that. Like, I'd be like, fuck yeah, dude, get the fuck out of there. If I had someone like a news article, 1 million Israeli youth flee Israel to flee IDF conscription. They go live in Germany, Italy, whatever. I'd be like, hell yeah, dude, get the fuck out of there. But there were people saying that with Russian refugees. They were like, no, get back to your country. And that's the difference, right? I don't actually believe in any essentialist critique of people because of the country they live in. As fun as it is to say that Israel's a demon country. Ukrainian soldiers saying NATO isn't ready for the style of war with Russia. I don't care. What does that have to do with anything that I'm saying? What Ukrainian soldiers say about NATO training? Okay. Here's an article from 2021 saying from a Russian soldier saying that they could overwhelm Europe in an instant if they wanted to. Whatever. I'm not going to break through to you guys. Can we move on? You're not changing Tankies' minds. They're not Tankies. They're European chauvinists. They're the opposite. They're not Tankies. They're trainees. I don't know. NATO would not be able to defend itself against a full-scale Russian drone attack. No country can defend itself against a full-scale drone attack. No country can. No country on Earth can or will ever be able to defend themselves against thousands of drones entering their airspace out of nowhere. That's how drones work. Ukraine can? No, the fuck they can't. Ukraine gets hit by drones. What do you mean? Oh, sorry, have no drones made contact in Ukraine? Ukraine doesn't get hit? That's new. That's no casualties on Ukraine's side due to drones? How interesting. Not even Ukraine can. They've literally said even on a good day they still struggle against drone strikes. Yeah, that's just how war works now. Like, why am I arguing with chat when chat is like a bunch of people just unironically made the argument that Ukraine doesn't get hit by drones anymore? I don't know why the fuck I don't know. Why am I having this conversation? Where are you guys getting your news from? There is no country and no technology that can provide air defenses that would allow you to defend consistently against sustained drone strikes. Drones cost much less than interceptor missiles or any existing widespread anti-drone technology, with the exception, I guess, of some of those laser things people talk about, but we don't have those like broadly across the board. And maybe when we do, drones will be less of a threat, but right now we don't. Like the idea that because Russia could overwhelm European airspace with drones, so they could do that with any country. I'm losing my mind. I'm not even the streamer. Can we move on, please? What a waste of a good resurrection day, honestly. Ukrainian air defense forces neutralized 90 out of 97 drones launched by Russian forces in attacks in Ukraine starting in the evening. Damn, sounds like they got overwhelmed. 7 made it through. Also, the article that somebody linked said that a swarm of thousands of drones would overwhelm NATO airspace, which would also happen to Ukraine. That's what Israelis say about their defense rates, too. There's just no way to consistently defend against all drones that could potentially hit your territory. At least not yet, not with current technology. Please move on to topics you have knowledge on. Military tactics ain't it, thanks. You don't get to be smarmy when your entire chat history today is whining that I'm right and you're wrong and you can't even explain why. Like, I'm sorry, your media diet on YouTube is hurting you, okay? People act smarmy when they don't have an actual argument to make. That's why I've spent like 45 minutes up here defending my point and you've spent it complaining from the chat, okay? You're speaking from the lower position. I have the high ground. Mad. That person did the same shit to me. I gave them an argument. Instead of responding, they said, Google it. Yeah. I can see.
French General. The warning came from French General Fearmongering, chief of the defense staff, standing here on the right, a close ally of President Macron. Earlier this week, General Mondon told local mayors that they need to start preparing for all eventualities, even loss of life in the case of a war.
If our country falters because it is not prepared to accept, let's be honest, to lose its children, if we are not ready for that, then we are at risk.
A message that left this local
Because it's not like insane to anyone?
Councillor reeling.
It was not the right time or place. It's just going to frighten people. Yes, we should plan ahead and recruit, but we're not going to go alarm our children.
For others, though, it's a sound warning.
It's a real...
Our leadership is paranoid as fuck. More accurately, your leadership is interested in getting people to invest in military stocks as fuck.
concern for the future.
Like, Bush didn't invade Iraq because Bush actually thought they had WMDs, you know?
So I think we do indeed need to prepare, and we also need to make it known to foreign countries that could attack us that we're ready.
It's not the first time that the general has taken a stand. He'd already told lawmakers that France needs to prepare for a war with Russia in the next 3 or 4 years.
Insane. Like that the Russian forces would cross into, like, oh, they're gonna all of a sudden activate Gear 5 and cross through Ukraine, Poland, Germany.
As Russia itself is preparing. Positions criticised this morning by part of the left.
I don't think it's the job of the Army Chief of Staff to go in front of elected officials and give that sort of speech, a speech I'd describe as political.
Yeah.
The centrist bloc, though, believes the general's warning is legitimate.
The job of the military is to enlighten us about the risks and prepare for the worst. So he's doing his job.
The message, in any case, is
It is absolutely
strongly
not the job of generals to go in front of the media and start fear-mongering about how we need to prepare for our children to die in war. That is absolutely not the job of generals. They are managers. They are bureaucrats whose job it is to run the military. They do not get to make political decisions about funding or about the nation's priorities.
to make inroads with the French public. The government, meanwhile, has published a guide for a crisis, such as an external aggression or natural catastrophe. Among other things, it advises the French to keep an emergency kit containing essentials like food, water, and first aid, as well as a battery-powered radio.
I just don't think people understand how dangerous and harmful this kind of fear-mongering is. You don't want a war with, like, every Western European country's generals are clamoring about how, like, you know, war is imminent anytime now, more military spending, we're all gonna die. Like, this is not how you build a peaceful world.
On the right, a close ally of President Macron. Earlier this week, General Mandon told local mayors that they need to start preparing for all eventualities.
Ugh. Sorry, I'm just looking at his Wikipedia page. Currently reading the Vaush Wikipedia page. Don't do that. All right. Can we fearmonger about fearmongering? No, I'm doing that. That's my job.